So before we even get into Blender for this pipeline video, we want to go ahead and launch an empty project here. You might already have your own project launched, however you have likely deleted some things. I called mine just my project because I'm going to delete it in a minute. Go to your content drawer, go to characters, mannequins, meshes. Right here you'll see SKM Win Simple and SKM Many Simple. We want this 3D model. So we're going to right click the model that we want. You can either choose Many or Quinn. We're going to go to Asset Actions. We're going to go to Export. We're going to export this. This will export as an FBX file. So SKM Quinn Simple. Next we're going to open Blender. We're going to leave all of this by default. Scale 1, everything, import FBX. The reason we do this is so that we can scale everything properly. Because as you can see, if I create a cube here and start modeling, say I model a gun out of this cube like you would normally, it's going to be absolutely gigantic. We basically need this model reference so that we can size all the assets we make properly. Otherwise we'll make things that are way too large and we'll run into a headache later. You can go ahead and click the armature, hit H to hide it, click the body. There's actually two things here, so we don't need this one, that one. So since we had some extra stuff there, we're going to click the armature and the body, go to File, Export, FBX. But before you do any of that, there's these export settings. There are some things that we're going to have to change in here. You want to limit to selected objects. You want to apply unit, use space transform. For geometry, smoothing, if you're using low poly things that you use flat shading, you want this set on edge. Apply modifiers. For the armature, we do not want leaf bones, we do not want deform bones. For animation, we want key all bones, and we want force start end keying. With all that selected, you can click the plus sign here, you can add a preset. So anytime you're exporting an FBX file from Blender that you want to use an Unreal Engine, you can go ahead and click Operator Presets, UE5 Export, and we'll set all those options so you don't have to remember them. We're going to go ahead and export and overwrite that model. Hide this armature, drag the character back, add in your cube, say like whatever, start modeling. If we import this into Unreal Engine as it is right now, turn it into a blueprint or place it in the level, it's going to be intersecting with the floor. You can see the grid here is going through the middle. That's where our floor is going to be. So instead of moving it up manually and eyeballing it and say that's perfect, right? But then you go and look closer and it's slightly clipping underneath the platform. We don't want that. What we're going to do instead, we're just going to go into Shift A, add a mesh, add a plane, and then we're going to move the object up. We're going to enable our snapping here, closest and vertex. And we're going to hit G and Z to confine it to the Z axis and move it down to where it's level with this plane. And this will be perfectly level with the ground, no matter what. Now that we have this aligned to the floor, we're not done just yet. We need to apply all transforms. Anytime you're going to export an object to Unreal Engine, you need to apply your transform. One extra thing is if you come up here to show overlays, click this drop down icon, you can enable face orientation. This is very important. There's been countless times where I've made a model in Blender, applied the transforms, and it has flipped the normals. What that means is the inside becomes the outside, and then the model in Unreal Engine looks invisible from certain angles. If that ever happens, come into Blender, enable this, face orientation right here. It will show you if any of your normals are flipped. And if your normals are flipped, go ahead and click the object, go into edit mode, select all the faces with A, and then hold shift and click in. You'll see down here it says recalculate normals. Sometimes this is what the object looks like and we don't want that. We use shift in to recalculate the normals. That's the general theory, but let's go ahead and do it in practice. I have this night.blend file here that I downloaded from online. It's CC0. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if I remember to do that. We're going to open this up. This is a character. First off, if you've never opened up somebody else's blend file before, you're probably going to be kind of confused that it's not really the way that you expect it to look. This is because we're in the UV editing thing, so we just go up here and go to layout. You might notice that we have an FBX file here along with the blend file. I don't normally use these because I don't know what kind of process they use to export the FBX. They could have like leaf bones enabled, they could have all sorts of things enabled. So normally I don't do that. What I do instead, open up the blend file. Let's go into solid mode so we can see. Select the armature, select the night, go to file, export, FBX, night.fbx. I've already exported this before, so I'm not going to do it again. Make sure your operator presets are set to UE5. Anytime you open up Blender, you'll have to do that. Once you export this night, again, we run into the scale issue. What if he's secretly this large? Well, you can't just scale him down because his arms come off for some reason, so that's kind of annoying, right? Say we import the night, and we're like, okay, he's kind of too tall for me, so I'm going to scale him down. As you can see, as you scale him down, his arms go inside of himself. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to scale him like that. What we want to do instead, we want to drag the FBX here, and we want to do scale right here. So like say we want him slightly smaller, so we're going to change the scale to 0.8 and import. Now, he's shorter, and the arms aren't coming off. Now that we have our night model here, we're going to export it. Now in Unreal Engine, I went ahead and made this NPCs folder here. Take this night.fbx, I'm going to drag him in here. Click Use Pipeline Defaults. I always get in the habit of clicking this anytime I'm importing something because of personal experience, because there have been countless times where the import has failed, and just clicking this button right here has fixed it. Because maybe you forgot to unclick something, say like animations. Sometimes you want to import only animations, and then under all you're not going to see this, and then you'll go to import. You'll import and you might have like empty animations, and then it'll say down here imported nothing. So use pipeline defaults, sets everything to default. I do that before I import anything. We're going to go to import, and we're going to get a bunch of assets here. First off, you might notice that this character is smooth. This is why you don't use the night.fbx, the FBX file that you get on the 3D object that you download, because they don't use the same export settings that you need to use. So he's going to be smooth. If you see this and you don't want it to be like this, you have to change your export setting. It is under geometry, and instead of normals only, you want edge. This will make it to where they shade smooth. I don't want this. Shade it flat. Export FBX edge. We have this model here. First thing you're going to notice is that it's not using the right texture. It added this material instance called night here, which is just solid white. We're going to delete that, and we're going to go over here to where the actual texture is. It's called night low res for this model. I'm going to drag it in here. This is a texture file. We can't apply this texture file directly to something because it requires a material. See, material slots, element 0. These are your materials. To fix this, what we're going to do, we're going to right click, and we're going to create material. We're going to name it m_night. Now you see it's kind of got this ball look to it now. We're going to come here, search m_night, click that, and it applies the texture just how we want it. Save that, exit out. Now this is the skeletal mesh. We can drag it into the level. Now let's say, just for instance, that we want this guy to be able to walk around. We're going to right click, we're going to do blueprint class, we're going to do character, we're going to do BPC for blueprint class _night. Now we're going to open it up, we're going to click mesh right here, character mesh 0, find mesh under the details panel, skeletal mesh asset, we're going to use night 1. He is floating weird and rotated the wrong way. This blue arrow is where the front of him should be facing, and he's not facing that way. So go ahead and check your capsule component. We see capsule half height is 88. So we're going to click this guy, and we're going to change the Z location to -88. Now his feet are at the very bottom of the capsule. We're going to click him, we're going to click this, and we're going to rotate him. Now he's rotating properly. What is character? Character comes with your arrow component, capsule component, a skeletal mesh, and the character movement. So what if we want this guy to animate? Because right now his idle animation is just an A pose. Well, luckily this model came with a idle animation, so we don't have to make any animations for this night unless we want to do something special like add an attack or other animations, and I can show that as well. Right now we want to animate this guy, so let's right click, let's go to a new folder, let's name this our animations in here. We're going to right click and we're going to click animation blueprint. Now it's going to ask for a specific skeleton. We know we're using night skeleton. Click that, click create, name it AVP underscore night. So this is the animation blueprint of the night. We're going to open this. I can't really explain why, but go ahead and get the default slot. I just know that last time I tried to animate a character, it didn't work because this wasn't here. Alright, we want two things to happen. We want the character to have an idle animation and a walking animation. Drag out, try get pawn owner is valid. We're going to check if it's valid. If I can type, is valid, question mark here. Plug this deck pin in, and then we're going to drag it out again. We're going to drag out, try get pawn owner again. We're going to get velocity, and we're going to set our current velocity. We're going to right click that, make it a variable, is valid into that. We're going to name this variable down here at the bottom left, current velocity. Alright, that's the event graph done. Now we're going to be in the anim graph. Remember, right click, slot, default slot, go into result. Right click, and put in a state machine. Let's call this locomotion. Double click the locomotion and we'll see this little entry thing. We're going to drag off of this and we're going to add a state. The state is going to be idle. We're going to drag off of it again. We're going to add another state. This state is going to be locomotion. Drag from this back to idle to create another transition so that we can go from idle to locomotion and from locomotion back to idle. This top arrow is going to say idle to locomotion. So what rule, double click it, what needs to happen for us to enter this transition? In order for our animation to go from idle to locomotion, we want that to happen when our velocity is greater than 0. So let's get our current velocity, let's get the vector length, and we're going to say, is it greater than 0? And we're going to drag this boolean right here. And that's idle to locomotion. We want the opposite. Let's go ahead and copy this. We want the opposite for locomotion to idle. So is vector length less or equal to 0? If that's true, then we can enter that transition. Now we're going to put the actual animations in. So idle, we're going to put our idle animation in. So let's go to content browser. We have our animation sequences right here. Night armature K idle, drag it in, and then output that. Now if we click compile, we can see that it's already got an idle animation. But you can see it played once and then stopped, so we need to click this, and we need a loop animation right here, under the details panel. Compile again, and we'll see it'll loop. Now locomotion, we want to come in here, we want to add walk. Connect that, click this, we want this to loop, animation, compile. You'll see nothing happens. Come down here to the bottom right. Current velocity is 0, so he's not going to walk. He's going to be in the idle animation. We can test this by increasing that. Now we can see what it'll look like when the velocity is greater than 0. Now whenever we click play, nothing's happening. That's because we have not assigned the animation blueprint. So go ahead, BPC Night, we're going to edit this blueprint. If this shows up, then we are going to go ahead and open the full blueprint editor. We're going to click BPC_Night, and we're going to go here, use animation blueprint, anim class, we're going to use ABP_Night. Okay, compile and save. Now you can see something changed. Now you can see that he is in his idle state. Now, how do we make him move around? We have a walking animation, we may as well make him move around, right? We're done with the animation blueprint. This is all going to be in BPC_Night. Go up here to this quickly add to the project button, click it, go down to volumes. We're going to add a nav mesh bounds volume. We're going to add that to the world. We're going to click that so it's 0, 0, 0. And then you can increase the scale of it so that it covers your playable area. You'll see it's building navigation, navigation building done. Press P on your keyboard. This green is where navigation is. So off of event begin play, we're going to set timer by event. Set the time to something like 0.5 seconds, so it'll run every 0.5 seconds. Click looping, drag off of event. We're going to create a custom event. We're going to say that we're going to call this run AI logic. So every 0.5 seconds this event is going to play, and it's going to use the AI move to node. So we get the capsule component, we get the world or location into origin of get random reachable point and radius of 1000. Plug the random location into destination. Pawn, you can get self, get a reference to self to plug into pawn. Now every 0.5 seconds, what this will do is we'll get a random reachable point, and the AI will move to that destination. And now our knight character is walking around quite sporadically. First off, he's rather fast. If we want to change how fast he can go, we're going to go to character movement. We're going to scroll down to max walk speed. We're going to put it to say 300. Now we're going to compile. We play, you'll see he's a lot slower now. And that is the full pipeline that is the full Blender to UE5 pipeline with some extra bonus stuff added in. I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments what kind of tutorial you would like to see next.